Good morning and welcome back to the channel, and today we are looking at climbing and things you can do to get better at climbing and to maybe help you climb more easily without too much effort. So here we go, there's a climb coming up. First thing we can do is make sure you've got good gearing. On this bike I've got semi-compact, which is 52/36 and a 30 on the back, so the lowest gear is 36/30, which isn't a hugely low gear. I could do a lot better. On my other bike I've got a compact chain set that's 50/34, and I'm lucky enough to have a 34 cassette on the back, so if I'm going somewhere that I know is really hilly, I'll be more inclined to take that bike, as I've got a 34 gear, which is a 1-to-1, which pretty much on the road you should be able to get up anything with that sort of gearing. So that's the first thing, make your gearing suitable for climbing. And don't forget, with gearing in the mountains you can never really go low enough. So many times I found myself looking for another gear, whatever gears I've got, and unfortunately found I haven't got any more gears. Another thing you can do before you start is make sure you haven't had too much fibre that day, and you're not going to feel bloated and heavy on the climb. So eat something that's really easily digested, maybe some eggs or something like that before a ride, some porridge a couple of hours before, and make sure you've not got that full feeling before you start. Another thing that's going to help you on the climb is to pace it. Depending on how long it is, of course, you need to know how much effort to put in, and if you're not sure, definitely err on the side of caution and go up at something that you think is a maintainable pace. Don't hit the climb really hard and then find you're dying halfway up it. Obviously, the more you know the climbs and what climb you're going to do, the better. And if you're lucky enough to have a head unit, a Garmin or something like that, that gives you an advance warning of a climb and how hard it is and how long it goes on for, that's really going to help with your pacing strategy. I haven't actually got one of those, so that's on my list of things to get at some point. And before you even start climbing, apart from gearing and what you eat, losing weight is going to help if you're climbing. Can't get away from the fact that going uphill, the lighter you are, the easier it's going to be. Another thing that can help on the climb is changing your position. Sometimes you can be seated, which is more effort on your muscles rather than your heart, or you could change up a gear and stand up for a bit, and that will put more strain on your heart but give your legs a bit of a break. So alternating between those two things can really help ease your muscles up a climb, especially if it's a long one. A lot of climbing, especially on a long climb, is also about muscular endurance, and you might be able to do a certain power and hold it, for 5-10 minutes, but could you hold it for an hour? And a lot of that is down to, as I said, just the muscular endurance of your muscles and how used they are to keeping that pressure going and that force going. And if, like me, you haven't got big long hour-long climbs on your doorstep, one thing you can do, which I really think is a good way to train for mountains, is to go on the turbo. And if you go on a turbo or trainer, you can really dial in that sort of wattage you think you can hold on a climb and practice holding that for 5, 10, 15, 20-minute intervals. And as you get stronger, you'll find you can hold the wattage for longer. But there's nothing better than a turbo if you haven't got a mountain nearby to practice your climbing on. You can also raise the wheel at the front to give you more of a similar position to what you'd have when you're actually on a climb. So we've got to the top of that short climb. As I said, there's not many really long climbs around me. Another thing you can do if you haven't got those big climbs nearby is try, although it's a horrible thing to have to do, to ride into a headwind. Because if you're riding into a headwind, you can change up to a big gear, so your cadence is slower. It's more representative of how you'd be climbing on a big hill or mountain. And if you're going into a headwind, it really makes you create that force. So sometimes it is beneficial to go out on a windy day and search for that headwind to really practice again that muscular endurance. Obviously, one of the main things you're going to have to do to get good at climbing is do a lot of it. And even if you haven't got big climbs around you, like I said, you can do hill repeats, you know, for an hour, climbing up to the top of a local hill, turn around, go down, back up again. Keep doing that for an hour. And although you're getting breaks every few minutes, probably every 10 minutes maybe, you are gradually building up that timing zone. And probably when you're climbing, you might be climbing at sort of tempo, maybe threshold, depends how long the climb is, probably not VO2 unless it's a very short climb. So practice, it's going to certainly get you better and stronger. Next one is a bit controversial, but you could take your mind off it. As you can see, I've got some bone conducting headphones on and I can hear a lot of what's going on around me, but listening to something, to some music or even a podcast, if it's a really long climb, can help take your mind off the effort and the pain. So you could give that a go. And finally, in my top 10 tips is make sure you've fueled for the climb. If you know you've got a climb coming up and it's a big one, you could have some fuel, a drink, a gel or something easily digested before the climb, probably about 15 to 20 minutes before the climb, to give it time to get into your bloodstream. But when you're working hard up a climb, you're really burning calories. So it would be a good idea to make sure you fueled well before you hit the climb. So if you've got any other good tips to help improve climbing, don't forget to drop them in the comments below. It'd be interesting to see what other people think helps them climb better. Don't forget to click that like button if you enjoyed the video and found it useful, and if you haven't subscribed, it would be great if you could subscribe so the channel can grow even more. Until next time, bye for now.